nice enough to come in the studio. Didn't have to do that today off our Rutgers Big Ten season. And he says, although he's going to break the brackets down for us, give us a little thought on what to expect. We'll do this again later in the week, but we want Steve in here right now. He knows the teams very, very well, especially in the Big Ten. All right, let's do this first. Couple of overall themes, Coach. The toughest one in your eyes, Southeast, Midwest, or West? Which one do you think is the toughest?
I think that, I'm looking at that South bracket with Virginia and K-State and Kentucky and Arizona.
You think that's the toughest one?
I think that's a tough bracket.
Harder than Kansas, Duke, and Michigan State?
You know what? I think that one is difficult too, but, I like that Virginia team a lot. I think K-State is interesting. Obviously, Kentucky, he's got them playing well, as he always does at the right time. Arizona, Florida, Tennessee. You get some really good teams in that South
you like
bracket.
the South. All right. I think the West is the weakest with Xavier and North Carolina. Agreed?
I would agree with that. Absolutely. I do think there's some teams in that, though, that, Gonzaga, I like Ohio State, and I obviously know a lot about them. And Michigan, don't ever count Beeline out.
Oh, I know that. We had Beeline on last Wednesday. He absolutely right. So, but you think overall now, all right, which team in your eyes was poorly seeded that is very good? Everybody thinks West Virginia at a 5, maybe a little poorly seeded. Arizona, too, as a 4. Which one got a bad seed that's going to be very dangerous for a 1 seed?
I was surprised about the West Virginia seed because tremendous respect for, and they played differently. They got that style of play that nobody wants to play against, and Huggins, you can't bet against him, in the tournament. So I was surprised that they were, and played really well down the stretch. And then Arizona, I was actually, again, surprised at that seed, too, because I thought they were much higher.
All right, if you had to take, you know how these brackets go. You could take 1 seeds all night, and normally you're going to get a couple of them right. If you had to pick a crazy team, you'd go in the West, I would think. A team that was not highly seeded, you go West to find that upset kind of team?
I will tell you, if a team's playing better than Michigan, that I've seen in the last few...
Oh, you like Michigan?
I like Coach Beeline with time, too, to prepare, and he's had time, and people say that's going to be...
Well, we got to talk about that. Good point.
Bad thing.
The week off.
And I think it's an unbelievable thing for a guy like him. He's been watching, you kind of know where you're going to be seated. And so I'm sure he's as well prepared as you can be for the first 2 rounds here. So,
well, excellent. That's a good thought. A lot of people are wondering about the Big Ten. You played your tournament a week earlier. A lot of people think that's, some people, it depends where you go. Some people think you get stale. Some people think it's a good idea. I guess it depends on the individual team. How about the 4 from your conference? All are going to be helped? Couple not helped? What's your take on it?
I think it helps our conference a great deal. First, I liked having the tournament a week early. It was unbelievable exposure for our league. We were the only show in town for the first year.
And you won 2 games. There you go.
Yeah, it was great for us, but I think some commissioner now at some of these other leagues will think about starting his a week early.
If they can get into New York.
Which is the key.
Which is the key to the whole thing. So you think it's a plus for your 4 teams as far as the NCAA is concerned, playing a week off? No problem with it whatsoever.
I really do, and I think, they're well rested, they're well prepared, and, the Purdue team, I think, is terrific. So I have a bias to that. We played them 3 times. I don't think they have a weakness. And they have veteran guys. They have 4 seniors that start for them. They shoot the ball at a ridiculously high level. I think they're the second best 3-point shooting team in the country. They got guards that can guard, and they have 2 of the biggest players in the country, in Isaac Haas.
And then his replacement who comes in, the freshman kid.
He's 7'4". He's even bigger. So I'm a big Purdue guy because I think it's tough to match up with that team for one night and figure them out.
All right. Most talent. Is it Duke? Who's got the most talent right now? They only got 5 guys, not 8, 9. Who's got the most talent of 1 through 12 in this tournament? From what you say,
boy, I like Villanova's talent a great deal. I think he's
going to be a great pro. That Bridges kid, he's a great player.
I think he's as good a player as there is in the country.
Oh, he is good.
Yeah, he can do a lot. And multi-position guarding point guards and can guard big guys.
Long arms, can shoot threes. So you think Villanova's got? You think they got great talent here?
I do, and I think they got the great guards too. When you got Brunson running your show, he's poised. He's a veteran guy, and obviously Jay Wright's not just a great dressed coach; he's a great coach.
Oh, he's a good kid. He's very, very good. All right, now we always have an upset with the 5-12, so you can do it via the team that is a week 5 or a team that you love as a 12. You have Davidson against Kentucky. You have San Diego State against your favorite Ohio State. You got West Virginia and Murray State, and then of course you have New Mexico State and Clemson. Which one, if any, do you think a 5 seed could win in those 4?
Boy, I tell you, as I look at those 5 seeds across the boards, and I think West Virginia will win as a 5 seed in their bracket, and then I look down at the.
You like Ohio State, so you can't pick.
I like Ohio State a lot. That game's going to be interesting, but I like Ohio State, and I think they do a great job, and they have a great player that Diop is a matchup nightmare for everybody, and well coached. So I'm picking them to continue.
So give me 1-5. That means you got Davidson over Kentucky.
New Mexico State.
Oh, really? You think they're dangerous?
I think they're a dangerous team. They're playing well at this time, and I like the ACC schools, but I think New Mexico State, if I had to pick one upset in that round,
you picked that one. All right, last one before we start. Out of the 16s and 15s, that's Maryland, Baltimore County. Lipscomb is a 15 seed. Georgia State. You got Penn, which I thought was poorly seeded. Ivy League, that's bad. A 16 gets Kansas. You throw in Iona against Duke. You know Iona pretty well. You got one of these real low seeds. There's 8 of them, the 4 15s and the 4 16s. Is anybody dangerous enough for the 1 or 2 seed?
Don't sleep on Iona. Tim Cluse does a really good job. He will get his guys playing.
And they're not going to fear Duke. They won't fear
They
him.
won't fear anybody. And
sometimes that's a negative, though. They don't play. They get a little too aggressive.
They can score with anybody. And when they get rolling in that direction, they're a tough team. And, again, well coached. And that would be a dangerous game. So you think Iona is the one team out of the last 8 that could be a pain in the neck? And then Penn, too. I will tell you, Steve Donahue does a great job. He's been around. They will cause problems with Kansas the way they play. I do think they could have been a 15, a 14.
Usually the Ivy League's a little higher. It's a good
league. There's some good teams in that league, and so
Harvard's been successful. Cornell was good those couple years, but they put him as a 16 seed.
Yeah, which I was kind of surprised of, but he'll be a tough 16 seed. That's not going to be an easy game.
All right, and then lastly, the 2 playing games. Let's get your thoughts on UCLA has to go across the country for St. Bonnie's, and then, of course, Arizona State and Syracuse, 2 teams that were fortunate. Who do you like in those 2 games?
Well, I like St. Bonnie's, and I love their guards.
Pro
Adams
guards. These pro
and
guards.
Mobley. I mean, they could play with anybody, and so I think that's one of those games. And then can you figure out Syracuse's zone in a couple of days? Those are always the key in this tournament.
And Arizona State's going to have to do that. So you would take Syracuse and St. Bonnie's in the 2 games.
Those are the 2 I would give the edge to.
All right, we're going to start in the South with Steve in a sec. 11 after the hour, we continue here on Mad Dog.